Good morning, Ron. Live. Okay.
Hey, Warren.
Good morning, Ron.
Morning, Ron.
Hey, Bob. How are you?
Rita. Chris.
Chris, you on? There he is.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So we have a quorum, so that's a good start. So this is the. Make sure I'm doing this right. Hold on. All right, so this is the July 13th, 2021 meeting of the Technical Review Committee. We have 3 items on the agenda today, and if you don't have the agenda, the first item we'll deal with is Gullison, the former KJ's property. Second item on the agenda is Juan Campos, which is that 5-lot subdivision off Serenity Drive, and the third application is Newport Car Vaults, Blake Henderson on John Clark Road. So we will start with Gullison, so I'm going to let Lynn in here.
Yeah.
Hi, Lynn.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Right here?
Jay is not here yet.
Oh, okay.
You want to wait a minute?
Yeah, I'll
See if he
text.
shows up. Yep.
I think I have it, so. He's logging in now, or trying to.
Lynn, will you be able to share your screen to flip through the plans?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just make sure I have you as being able to share. Okay.
So we're doing a little Gullison first, Ron?
Yep.
Who are we waiting on for Gullison?
Jay Lynch.
I'm not sure if Dan Herc's popping in.
He's not here yet.
No,
Small crowd today.
I
It's
guess.
just you. You're on all the applications today, Lynn.
I know, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yes, big money you're making today.
I don't know about that.
Here's Jay.
Sorry to keep you waiting. I forgot to get on my Wi-Fi, so. we're all
How's it
set.
going? So I guess we can just get started. Jay, I don't know if you want to start, or Lynn will eventually run through the plans for us.
Yeah, I think this is just a continuation. I know we were in front of the TRC several months ago, and Warren had requested some revisions to the drainage in the parking lot. So I know Lynn went ahead and did that. We also addressed some of Chris's concerns about the roof height. So we've got some revised drawings with the roof line, and then we've redone the drainage for the parking. I guess might as well, Lynn, if you want to jump right into the parking and the drainage.
Sure. Oops. Thing is open here. I can share my screen if you want. Let me just open the file so I have it ready. Okay, because then I don't know where I'm supposed to share if I don't open the drawing first.
Yep.
I'll go while you look at that. On the height, your fence. Oh. There you go, Lynn. I'll wait.
Do you want me to pop onto the architectural first instead?
Yeah, no, I can do the height last.
Okay, the site was pretty simple. We had gotten the DOT approval. The site is small, so it doesn't require a RIPTES permit. We're also, the floodplain's way out here, so we were able to avoid it and keep everything in your X zone, which is a good thing. But Warren had asked that we take a review of the drainage and see if we could create depressions in the landscape areas, just to better create some opportunity for infiltration on the site. The site meets your peak runoff rates, your water quality treatment and everything. It already has that state approval for DOT because all the stormwater is going towards their roadway. But with that change that Warren had asked, so we end up with some small depressions in the front, but that was basically the only change that the civil plan had. I can swap over to the landscape plan too, because I think we had swapped a few trees out. And then we can do the architectural. Does that sound
That's
okay?
fine. Yep.
Okay.
Lynn.
I don't know if I have to stop sharing between changing screens, so I'm just gonna. I did a meeting in East Providence the other day and it was paused half the time because I didn't do that.
Yep.
So this is Pam's plan, and I think if my memory serves, do you remember, Jay? I think they had asked her to swap some of the trees along the front to a different
Correct.
species.
Correct.
Okay. Because these were a little bit more, oops, I can't pan, it seems. I don't know what these are, but they're supposed to be better in the wind. I don't know. I know that that was the concern that we had received, is that the type of trees, I think it was for this project, that she had proposed along the street line tend to break in the wind.
Yeah, and my recollection was with the salt air and the wind, they just asked us to kind of change the species of the tree. So I think we did that.
So that was basically the only change there. And then I can pop
I
Dan.
thought it might have been ownership or something across that front because we were looking at where the state DOT was and this was it anything to do with ownership of the trees and maintenance?
That That is entirely possible, Chris. Right here, this gray dash line, that is your property line. And then this area between the property line and the sidewalk and the roadway is town property, oddly. And that has something to do with how this intersection was changed
Okay.
with Briarwood. So it's not state property, I don't think.
The
least
town
that's-
owns, yeah, there's a triangular strip that the town owns between the subject property and
On the
Aquinic
other side.
Avenue. Yeah.
So it looks like those trees are on town property.
Yeah, and that was gonna be a decision that the town could make. That's how we were trying to keep everything lined up, so once it's built, it looks decent. I don't know if an easement will work so that we can maintain them for the town. I don't think the developer has a problem doing that. We're just trying to make the project look like it works with that town. It's just a strange configuration right there.
So the problem with that is Ron's the lower Aquidneck improvements that we have going on. Is that going to conflict with any of that sidewalk scape that we're going to be looking at?
I'm guessing not, because I think all that work is proposed to be within the state right of way. So if the trees are outside of the state right of way, but in the town owned property, it shouldn't be an issue. I have it flagged as a waiver from the design requirements because the trees are not located on private property. But I think Bob Hanley is gonna have to weigh in because I think he is responsible for maintaining that little strip. Of course,
Yes.
I don't think there's any maintenance going on now because it basically operates as part of that property. But like Lynn said, maybe there'll be an easement, maintenance easement across that area to require the owner to maintain those trees.
Yeah, we have no objection to that condition.
As long as that's not being utilized as any of your buffers or anything for that spot shown down in that southeast corner. I don't know what it is on that western property line, what you need for buffers from the town property or how that works.
If, Ron, if you have the CAD file, we can overlay your file on ours and see how that lines up if you want.
Which file are you talking about?
I don't know, I guess there's some sort of improvement plan.
Oh, there's no plan yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, outside of a concept plan, we don't have any real plans drawn up yet for the streetscapes project. So, but like I said, I'm pretty sure the goal is to maintain all of that work within the state right of way. But I think what Chris is talking about is making sure that you're not using that private, the public property, the town property as part of your setbacks and buffers.
Offset your buffer, yeah.
I don't think you are. It looks like
No,
inside the
we're not.
property line, you're meeting that 10-foot landscaping requirement along the front there.
Yes, we are.
All right.
That was a revision we made during the process.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to show us, Lynn, before we
Oh.
get into comments?
I can share the latest plan that I have for the architecture too. I think Chris had some comments on height last time we had talked.
That's the old,
It is?
yeah.
There's an option one where we reduce the ridge line. We had that false front on the roof, which we reduced.
And basically you got that false front still with a fencing. If I
Oh.
had any kind of a structure with a roof deck, I'd call it to the top of the railing. So you got fencing that is encroaching over the 40-foot limitations that we're allowing here. That fencing
Well, Chris,
is, I just assume have a, depending on planning, the parapet wall and the fence are the same thing. So you really didn't do anything with your blind. Your blind still encroaches to 40 feet.
Well, I think that's where we, the planning board is going to require that we screen the mechanicals at the top.
Yeah.
That's screening, and I'm calling it screening. You're calling it a
Anything,
fence.
anything that,
It's not habitable space.
it doesn't matter if it's habitable space, it still encroaches in the visual line that I have for maximum height.
Well, yeah, but under the code, the
That's the code.
mechanicals are exempt. Yeah, the mechanicals are exempt, and it's
And you show me
screening no
that,
higher than the
I'm
mechanical.
not aware of that being exempt anywhere, Jack.
But yeah,
Not aware.
it is for the mechanicals and not under the height. The mechanicals are exempt from the height limit.
They are.
Yeah,
Read it, forward me the section later that says that they're.
I will. Yeah, I've had that discussion with Peter too, Peter Regan, on this one.
Yeah.
So I'll get you that, Chris.
I don't feel it, but we'll see when you forward it to me.
Sure.
You
So
know,
I guess the question, Chris.
because they call for blinds, Jay, that doesn't mean that it trumps my zoning ordinance. Because planning department calls for mechanicals to be blinded, shielded, just like antennas and any radio equipment. I don't believe in that trumps my height limitations. Just because they call for a blind, if not, everybody will go to the maximum and then throw up a 4-foot blind or whatever is necessary. We'll discuss that at a later
Yeah, we can.
time.
And I guess while we're on this, Chris, if the question from your perspective, if you want to get the input, if you'd prefer the false roof line,
I'm not saying.
and if we address that question rather than the flat roof with the screening.
I'm at the same scenario, whether I have a roof line or a fence.
Okay.
To me, it encroaches the 40-foot height limitation.
Yeah, I'll get you what that section, which I think
What you think, yes.
makes it exempt.
What
I'll
you
get
think
that to
makes it exempt.
Okay, well,
Okay.
So Jay, you're proposing the flat roof with the screening versus what's on the screen right now with the
Yeah.
extended roof? Is that what you're?
well, we've got two options. Option one is what's up there now,
Yeah.
which is the false roof, and that would be the screening for the mechanicals. The second option that we've provided is with the flat roof with the just screening around the mechanicals.
So for option one, is there agreement between you and Chris, Jay, that would require a variance?
I believe it impairs the visual appearance, it impairs the 40-foot. My 40-foot height is for them residents and everybody that's your limitation, nothing about that, unless they want a variance.
So you're saying, Chris, either case, they need a variance. Jay, you're saying only the one with the extended roof requires a variance and this one, the one with the screening, does not?
I'm not sure that even the option one does, because the habitable space doesn't go above the 40 feet. The roof line is considered the screening area.
Yeah.
But
Well, that'll be
I'll take the
determined,
path
I
of least
guess.
resistance. And if option two is agreeable to the planning board for the design, we'll go with option two, and then we're just dealing with the, it's less visual impact. It's just the mechanicals around, I mean, the screening around the mechanicals. So we're happy to go with this option two.
I think, well, I can't speak for the board, but my own thought is that the option, not this option with the screening, but the other option is probably more attractive. But if that means a variance versus no variance, I guess that between you and Chris and Peter, you guys have to figure that out.
Yeah, we can.
I had a couple of zoning questions, and Chris, maybe you can answer these, or Jay. So hotel in the LB district requires 20,000 square feet of lot area, which this lot does not. Has that been addressed?
I addressed that with Peter because that was brought up by Jim Miller at the zoning board several months ago. And my reading, I don't have that my response to Peter in front of me, but I got him. That's when it's permitted by right. I think under the ordinance, if it's permitted by right, you need 20,000 square feet This is a special use permit. So I explained the difference to Peter. I never got a response back from him disagreeing with that. I think it's, I can ask for confirmation from him, but
Yeah, because I don't think hotels are allowed by right anywhere.
no, and I think there's an ambiguity in the ordinance as it was constructed, but it talks about hotels that are permitted by right in that district. And I think that language just is inconsistent with what's in the limited business and throughout the ordinance.
Yeah. So that's another one that hasn't yet been resolved, apparently.
Involved on that, whether, yeah, if it's a use permit or if it's not prohibited, I can't see how it's not going in as a use permit. With the
Anyway.
20,000, we'll address that again. We'll also.
Yeah, I just wanted to flag that because I
Yeah.
wasn't sure why that was not being asked for. And then my last, I guess, zoning question, and this starts getting into design, is the landscape buffer requirements. It's stated somewhere, I don't know if it's the impact statement or on the plans or somewhere, that no zoning relief is required, but you're not meeting on the southerly or the northerly property line, the 10-foot buffer requirement to that abutting residential property.
But that's a commercial property.
Doesn't matter,
That's-
it's by use.
Yeah, but the use is, I believe the use is it's a hotel use. It's a short-term rental. It's not a residential, a single-family home.
Well, short-term rental isn't a commercial use. I think that's going to have to, well, Chris, again, this is a zoning question, but from the development plan review, you're going to need a waiver anyway, because you only have 2 feet, I think, of buffer there. So you're not even meeting the 10-foot.
Right, because that's the one we've got the elevation change. It's
Right.
going to be drastic. We're going to have to build a retaining wall on
Yeah.
the north side of the property.
So it's at least the waiver you're requesting from the planning board. And again, I just was wondering about that zoning item, but
Yeah.
again, that's for Chris to figure out. So sorry to interrupt, Chris. Do you have anything else?
No, like you said, we'll sit down with the use permit with the square foot and the height. My definition state is the highest part of a structure, and a fence and handrails, and at least I've always, for the last 15 years, enforced it as the highest portion of the structure. But we'll get that. We'll sit down with Peter when he comes back next week.
Okay, maybe we'll go to Bob next before we get into Warren's engineering review. Bob, do you have any issues utility wise or with that tree discussion?
Just that those trees would have some kind of agreement with the owner that they'll maintain. We have no maintenance on them.
Yeah,
We're agreeable to that condition.
Yeah, I don't. That's all I have.
Okay, and in sewer, you're good with sewer?
Yeah, they got the tank and then separate the sewer from the domestic sewer out of the kitchen sewer. That's all. I don't see that on the plan, on the drawing here. It all goes into the tank. That needs to be separated.
You got that, Lynn?
Yep, I'm writing it down, my brain,
Yeah. So that can be a condition to the design of the sewer connection be approved prior to issuance of permits.
Yeah, it needs to go for that commercial review from the wastewater guys.
Oh, over in Newport.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Bob?
That's good. No, I'm good. I'm good with it.
All right, let's get into the details. Warren, drainage.
Drainage.
What do
So
you think?
Lynn, yeah, if you can put the plan back up and just go through the changes you've made to the surface.
Wait 1 second here. Okay. So this is the drainage plan for the site. And basically we made these front areas, added a depression in them. This one is the only one that's technically on our property, but we depressed this one too. I mean, that's up to you if that's going to be acceptable, but it's just a mild depression. So you get some captured infiltration. So we did it with spot shots. So this is dipped a little bit lower with the spot shot. This one's dipped a little bit lower with the spot shot, as well as this one.
So the surface of the asphalt is going to be graded to direct the water into runoff into those two areas.
As much as we can. I mean, you're going to capture some, it's not going to be a huge depression. So we don't want it overflowing and going over the sidewalks. So we're going to have some areas that go into those depressions, but I don't know that it's necessarily a good design change to make everything go into those depressions, because you'll overwhelm them. They don't have a lot of capacity, so what would happen is when those overflow, it's going to go over the sidewalk instead of down the curb line like it was originally designed. So we didn't do a lot of grading revisions to do that, because like I said, the depressions are not that big. They were just an added supplementary feature to the design that had already met state code.
The other issue is that they're not on your property. They're going to be on.
That is a unique situation that we have, is right here. I mean, I don't have to add the depression. Like I said, the project meets state code prior to these depressions being added. We didn't even change the drainage design to take into account what that infiltration is. We're just providing, a dip so that you can get some. So that's really up to you if you want us to leave them there or not. It can easily be incorporated into the easement for maintenance for the project owner. He's maintained this area, forever, because it's part of his parking lot really right now.
Yeah, well, what happens if a town comes along and wants to do something with that property in conjunction with another project or whatever the case may, whatever happens? I mean, there's no control over that.
No, I mean, but the project meets state code without them. So we don't need them to meet. We already have the DOT permit. They're the receiving body.
I like the DOT permit. I do like that. And we can get into that too. But I mean, did the DOT permit look at the traffic flows in and out of this property and across the street and what you have going on and all that? I mean, the DOT permit is fine, but I don't think, did they review the drainage?
Yes. They review the drainage and stormwater on all projects where we're draining to their property, unless we include with the submission a statement that says that the project doesn't drain towards their property. Then they may forego a full drainage review, but we're still required to submit to them the drainage reports, even if we're not draining to them.
Did the water quality issue come up with DOT?
I mean, they recognize the difficulty of the site. We can't provide water quality subsurface at the lower level because the water table doesn't support it. It's not that we're trying to not provide water quality for the parking areas. It's that the site constraints are not allowing us to on this site. So we put it in an area where it was lifted so we could provide the separation from the water table. It's a redevelopment site, so we're kind of stuck between a bunch of things that exist.
No, I understand that.
But if you, I mean, as you know, I know that every single town and the state, they prefer that we provide water quality treatment for asphalt versus rooftop. That's a given, and we do it every way we possibly can. But there's very few areas where we just can't. And the state ordinance doesn't actually say that you have to do one or the other. That's just how it's enforced. And we tried, we did a test hole. It just doesn't fit.
Um,
I mean, there's no provisions today. And the site has a lot more impervious today than it does in the future.
mhm, 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 mhm. Yeah, it's a
I'll
tough
leave
site.
that to professionals. I,
I actually don't know what else you could do. How much how much decrease in pervious do you have?
Let me see. Let me just stop sharing for a second. I'm sorry. So under the existing conditions, we have, and I'm just reading from the drainage report that you have. It's just difficult to share this screen. You have 1.16. Wait a second, I added that wrong. I'm sorry. You have 0.449 impervious.
Proposed conditions?
And then proposed, we have, oops. .319. 0.327 if you count the lined system, because the drainage system is lined.
Mhm. So that's an increase. That's a decrease of 25%, if I see that right?
Probably, let me see. Yeah, 0.449 to 0.327.
Yeah. And being a redevelopment, you only need to meet 50% of the water quality volume.
That's true. And just by the changing impervious area that exists today to pervious, we meet that peak runoff requirement.
Meet the peak runoff.
Yeah. So we have a reduction in your peak runoff as well.
Mhm. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I have, Ron.
It's a difficult site.
So you're good with the drainage report?
I'm
for
good with it.
design?
I think it's
Okay.
done the best we possibly can to the maximum practical extent, and that's what you can do with the site without completely altering everything else that's required. So
Yep.
Thanks.
All right, so I'll just go through the waivers. Jay, you probably saw these in the memo. The pedestrian walkways and crosswalks. The crosswalk is not provided to access the main stairway. The second one is the use of synthetic exterior building materials. The third one is the landscaping requirement. You're required to have 25% of the site landscaped, and you're asking or proposing 20%. The 10-foot buffer along all property lines. So we talked about that already along that northerly property line. And again, the number 5 on the list is a 20-foot buffer actually required along the northerly property line because of the residential use. Again, I don't I don't have anything to demonstrate that that's not a residential use. It's a house. So we can talk about that. Or you can talk about it with the planning board.
Yeah, I'll address that.
Landscape buffer 10 feet wide between the building and the parking lot. You're not meeting that, and essentially your parking is under the building, so it's kind of hard to include a landscape buffer between the building and the parking lot. But you can talk with that planning board about that one. And then lastly is the one we also talked about earlier, that some of the trees, the street trees, are located off-site. So we've got that. It's still a waiver, but we've got that idea for a condition that those trees be maintained by the property owner through a maintenance easement.
Yeah.
So those are the waiver requests. Fire department is not here, unfortunately, so I don't have anything to offer from them. And they've been asked to offer comments, but I don't. Rita, do you know if we've received anything from fire? If we do get anything before planning board, we'll certainly get it out to you, Jay, Lynn. So with that, unless there's anything else from members or you, Jay or Lynn, I think we're in a position now to consider a recommendation to the planning board. And again, this recommendation, assuming that it's a positive recommendation, does not include or intend to address those questions about zoning issues. Those will have to be resolved one way or the other between Jay and Chris and Peter Regan. And we can certainly let the planning board know that that those items need to be resolved, and that the planning board is focusing on development plan review, and they are not necessarily addressing any zoning issues at the planning board level either. Those will hopefully be resolved before you get to the zoning board. So with that, if someone's willing to make a motion, a positive recommendation on the site plans to the planning board, subject to possibly 3 conditions. Number 1, that a maintenance easement for the trees located on town property be provided, and that would be prior to permitting, subject to the approval of the town solicitor and public works director. The second one is that the final design of the sewer connections be approved by the public works director prior to permitting. And potentially number 3, Warren, you can tell me if we need this or not, that the stormwater maintenance easement include and cover those facilities that are constructed off-site, which would be the portions of those depressions. Is that something you want to put as a condition?
Yes, let's put that as a condition, Ron, please. Yes.
Okay. So those are the 3 conditions I have. If there's a motion to that effect, I'll entertain it.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hall, seconded by Mr. Hanley. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? None opposed. So unanimous positive recommendation with the conditions. And you'll be on for tomorrow night.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Good night.
See you, Jay. Lynn, don't go anywhere. All right, so next item on the agenda is application of Juan Campos preliminary plan approval for 5-lot subdivision, including extension of an existing town road, property located at the end of Serenity Drive, tax assessor's plat 120, lots 68A and 68B. So I'm going to let Russ Jackson in here.
morning, everybody.
Morning, Russ.
Morning.
Good morning, Russ.
So, yeah, we're here for review based on the submission of the preliminary plan. We were in front of the Conservation Commission last evening. They had some comments and wanted the opportunity to review comments from TRC. So there was no recommendation made last night. It was continued. That was done also in conjunction with the fact that Dave Martland reached out to me on behalf of the Aquidneck Island Land Trust, had some questions. So they want some additional time to review the preliminary plans. So we obviously, Lynn's going to go through the plan. We want to take all the feedback we can today, and then we're expecting that we'll need to come back before you next month as well.
Okay, that sounds fine. So do you want to go ahead and share your screen, Lynn?
Sure thing. Okay. So this is the Campos subdivision. It's at the end of Serenity Drive in Middletown, and just north of Maidford River Road. By density, I think we're allowed 7 or 8 lots for this property. The owners had decided to reduce the density down to 5. The existing conditions of the site you can see here. We do have a wetland feature on the east side of the property that extends outward of, so let me just fix, I have all you guys over here on my screen. You're in my way. So we have the Maidford River that's very, very far east. It's off site. And then your 200-foot setback comes to this location, if you can see my hand. And then between 150 and another 200 feet, we have the edge of a wetland feature, a wetland complex that's subject to a 50-foot perimeter wetland. We then have a small wetland at the north side of the property that is isolated and isn't subject to a 50-foot perimeter wetland. Serenity Drive extends into the end of the property with a cul-de-sac, and the lot currently is split into 2 properties. There's an existing 6-inch sewer main that runs down from the cul-de-sac along the property line and extends into Maidford River Road. It's the intention of the property owner to remove that sewer line and put in a different sewer line, which better lays out with the proposed project. Go right to, so we have a 5-lot subdivision. All of the lots meet your required frontage. This shows the length of the right-of-way that we're proposing for the property and how it meets the frontage for each of the 5 properties. And then when you go into the actual development of the site, you can see that part of this design, because we do recognize that we're draining towards Maidford River, is to reduce the impervious area. So not only are they reducing the number of lots for the overall development, but we're shortening this roadway a bit. The right-of-way extends over here. If you can see that light, that faint circle, that's the cul-de-sac right-of-way, but we're actually constructing it a little bit further west just to help reduce that impervious area. Each of the lots will have an individual driveway that extends from that right-of-way. One of the recommendations during, or one of the requests, I'll say, during master plan review was that we explore the opportunity of bringing in not only sewer, which we will be bringing the sewer line and coming between lots 4 and 5 and tying into Maidford River Road, not Maidford River. But the board had asked that we also consider bringing in municipal water for this project. To do that, we have to come down to Compton View, extend a new main down Serenity Drive and into the project. There is, from what I understand, Newport Water, when they responded to my request for availability, they sent the letter to the planning department directly and said that the layout would not meet some of their criteria. So we do plan on updating that. We're going to have to meet with their office and figure out exactly what those updates are because they weren't included in the letter. They did say that they are willing to provide water. We just have to make sure that we design the layout of it in an acceptable fashion for their office. So we do plan on having water and sewer for this development. The drainage system for this project includes your pretreatment, your water quality, and then your detention as required by the state ordinance. We have a hydrodynamic separator, which will take the impervious roadway runoff, pull your sediments out, and then it will drain to a sand filter that's located towards the rear of lot 4. And then that will overflow into your detention basin. We do have 2 smaller, their conveyance and water quality treatment depressions for your impervious area from your individual lots. Those both drain into your detention basin where we will get a reduction in your peak runoff before we discharge towards the wetland complex for the property. We did have this project go through review with DEM for RIPDs and wetlands. They did do a review of the stormwater system and the overall grading of the project and found that it was suitable after a few revisions that we had to make with them. There was a bit of a back and forth, but we ended up getting to a point where it is approved. We do provide a reduction in your peak runoff for all your design storms. I guess I could just pop over, and unless you want to ask questions about the design, I can pop over to the landscape plan so you can see that real quick.
Mute. I was muted. Sorry, Warren, did you want to discuss drainage before she moves over?
Yeah, we can do the drainage, sure.
Okay, let me go back to the.
I'd like some discussion on the lifetime maintenance and agreement of these sand filters and the stormwater basins and, you know, the maintenance and upkeep and cutting, cleaning, you know, conditioning these over the years. On maybe just some discussion on how do we keep or provide that these things will be maintained and you know, cared for.
Yeah. So
Some discussion on that.
so part of the stormwater and the state review makes us include an operation and maintenance agreement report that is submitted also to the town. So you have it on file. And then once the project, if it's approved, Ross's office puts together a legally binding homeowners association, which includes that maintenance of the stormwater. What we've also included when we go to final for these subdivisions is an easement over the drainage features. So in the event that the homeowners association is not doing what they're supposed to do, the town can access the property, go in and do what they need to do, and then back charge the owners for those fees.
Yeah, because we're seeing these homeowner associations dissolve, and it's just an ongoing battle with maintaining of these. I feel, you know, so.
Yeah, Chris, so I drafted, put together 2 preliminary drafts of one easement in relation to the proposed sewer line in terms of, access for the town, those type of things. And then a separate agreement, easement agreement in relation to the entire stormwater management system. And as Lynn pointed out, the primary responsibility is on the homeowners to maintain it. My recollection is I included a provision which, again, if the town incurs costs to maintain or improve these stormwater management features, doing something that the homeowners should have done, then the cost will be, relayed back to the homeowners.
Yeah.
you know, and anything, I assume anything can be put on record, so it essentially serves as a lien on the property. I mean, I don't know what else in terms of,
The town has to get a third party, because we're not large enough to service all of these things, so we would just go out and contract them out to a third party and bill everybody, or have that in
Yeah.
their deed, because we don't have time to keep up with these things, so we would just say, hire a third party, and then whatever the bill is, we put a lien against everybody, you know, we need something in place.
yeah. So again, those have to be reviewed by Peter still. I haven't heard back from him on this, but I'm sure I will over the course of the next month. The easement for the stormwater management system that I drafted, I do believe does include a provision that, you know, essentially would create a lien on the property. I don't think there's anything in there that would prohibit the town from engaging a third party to do the actual work as opposed to the town doing the work. But I'm happy to make whatever, you know, sort of amendments.
Like you said, some of these sand filters, the bottom of these things get 2-3 feet of muck in them, and they gotta get pulled out. So I don't want somebody saying that we went over and above and beyond the maintenance of these things. And also, even the third party engineer, like Lynn, we go back to Lynn and say, no, these things are failing. We want you to tell us what it needs to be done, and we'll hire a third party to do it. So she'll get paid, everybody gets paid.
Yep.
So when you say a lien on the property, I don't see any easements over the stormwater system here. I see an easement for the 2 drain lines that run from the road
And that's supposedly.
to the ponds, but so there's no easement shown on that plan.
No, I think you're right. I think that's something we need to add.
We need to add that. And
Straight
then,
down the middle.
and then where would the lien be, Russ, if I can ask you that? Maybe you can't answer today, but when you say lien the property, would the lien be only on those lots 2, 3, what am I looking at here? 3, 4, and 5, where the actual ponds are?
No. The way I drafted the easement agreement was it's a shared responsibility among all 5 lot owners. Because they're all, you know, the stormwater management system is the benefit or requirement for all 5 lots. So if the homeowners association fails to maintain and a cost is incurred by the town to maintain it, then the lien is applicable to all 5 lots.
Okay, good.
That's the way I envisioned it. Again, I'm happy to go through it with Peter. And if we need to add additional language or he's got some other ideas, we're open to that.
Yeah, I see these homeowner associations, they don't have a president, they don't have nobody, you know, so they drive me crazy. You know, and who's in charge of the homeowners association? Who do we contact when we have trouble?
So do the documents there, and I'm asking this question again, Russ, maybe you can't answer it today, but do they include the actual structure of the homeowners association? They have to meet once a month or once every 6 months. They have to submit dues, things like that. Because like Chris says, they're hard to get a hold of to get anything done with them.
Yeah, and again, I think at this point, I think what Ron required was that I prepare the easement agreements. I have not drafted homeowners association documents yet, but again, I'd be happy to do that. You know, if you guys want to see those before next month, we can do that. That's fine.
Yeah. Good. Okay. I'd like to take a look at them.
Yeah, we need something.
Yeah.
So Lynn, in addition to adding the easements on the plan, I was looking at the end of, it's right on this sheet, actually, the end of that 8-inch drain line. It looks like it crosses out of that easement onto on lot 4 there. It seems like the end of that comes out of the easement area that you've identified.
Yeah, I think this is, oh yeah, it is an easement. Okay, you're right. So that needs to be modified a little bit.
Yeah, you can see the outfall just bumps out of that easement.
Yep.
Yeah. So that grassed easement, Lynn, will that will need to be passable with a machine or trucks or something to get in and out of that stormwater detention area. So
Okay.
we're gonna have reinforced grass there, some kind of grid system.
Okay. I don't think that's what it has right now, Warren, but I will We did do that for the sewer because Tom gave us that input at master plan level. So it may be something that's similar that we put on this side for the drainage.
Yeah, we'll get to that sewer easement. Yeah, we're gonna take a peek at that too. But get us in and out of somebody in and out of that area. And then the same with the other areas that are gonna be part of the overall stormwater management system, those 2 wet swales that you
Yep.
have. We gotta be able to get in, get out of there. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna stay on stormwater here for a bit?
Yeah, I think they want to know what concerns you have. So, yeah.
I had the benefit of being at the Conservation Committee meeting last night, so I've got all of their notes, and it was a pretty good meeting. But I do have a couple of quick questions, Lynn. The end of the pavement is short of the right of way, and there's 2 defeasible easements. I see that. The hydrodynamic separator that you've mentioned, and we'll get to it, but the sewer manholes just falls outside of that pavement.
Yep.
We would want that extended at least so that we can pick up those structures with a truck, have a truck go in and out of that area. So we
You
want
want me
that.
to extend pavement?
I think you're gonna have to extend that pavement. Yes. And that leads to another question. I mean, by keeping that cul-de-sac short like that, I'll call it short, the construction of the asphalt, you're saving about 90 feet or so of asphalt there, of 26-foot wide asphalt. And you're leaving this easement or this town right of way in people's front and side yards. And from a land surveyor's perspective, I don't know if that's such a good idea, and if that was vetted out here already, that we're gonna leave this thing short and leave this cul-de-sac in private property, basically, a right of way. And then that leads into where these easements begin and end and why they go where they do, so on and so forth. But we're gonna get to that. So I'm questioning why that asphalt ends up short of, first of all our structures, and then second of all, where the actual right of way is. And then the driveways, we have the extended driveways to get in and out of each lot. And I can't tell from this drawing if those driveways cross lot lines or not.
They do not.
They do not.
No, we might be able to see it better on the drainage plan.
Okay.
Not sure. I mean, we have I'm zooming in now. I hope I don't give anybody dizzy spells.
Yeah.
But this shows all your catch basins are in the right of way. We would never have your roadway extend to the hydrodynamic separator because those are manhole covers. So you're not actually capturing any water in them. It's piped into them. And then the covers, I mean, you're only 5 feet away from the pavement. You can easily empty those.
Understood, but what we need is to be able to get a vac truck on top of those 2 structures.
Oh, it has to go over them?
Over them. Bob,
Yeah, the pavement should be over all that, even the sewer cover, same thing. That's gonna be a public sewer. You're making that public sewer, that's not gonna be private.
That's our hope, is to, yes, have that as a public sewer line. That's why we have the line, that's why we have the reinforced grass that Tom wanted. So we'll have to extend this out. Funky.
Yeah, our truck is, 70-some thousand pounds. So it's heavy.
yeah,
I mean, grass reinforcement is suitable for fire trucks.
Mhm.
So I don't think the
Yeah,
load,
we're the same as a fire truck, that's for sure, but. I don't see why we can't move that cul-de-sac to grab all that, or the asphalt to grab all that structures.
Right, then you're not, then we're not driving over a sidewalk, we're not driving over a grass
Breaking into
strip.
pavement.
I mean, it's just usually you have the catch basin in the curb line and the hydrodynamic separator, after that. So if we move the cul-de-sac so that these covers are now, I'm not trying to say no, okay? Don't misconstrue that. I'm just trying to think how we do that. If we move the cul-de-sac so that now they're in the curb line, that puts my catch basins so they're not. We might have to reconfigure some things.
Mhm,
Maybe we put the catch basins over here.
mhm.
We'll have to look at that if that's something we're gonna change.
So Lynn, I have a question. What about, Warren raised the issue of the shortening of the paved area of the road and leaving that public easement over private property. Does extending the cul-de-sac the full length make it any easier for these drainage and the separator and the location that you guys are discussing right now? Or does it make
It just pushes the same situation. If we'd had the cul-de-sac down here, we would have had the same layout.
okay?
It's just moving it down the hill. The only difference is it puts this manhole right here, the sewer manhole, in the pavement, but we still have to bend off to go down Maidford River Road. So we could make an easy bump out or just shift the cul-de-sac down a little bit to capture those items. We were trying to create a more, I guess, green development by minimizing the impervious surfaces. Without creating a variance situation. That's the only reason why this roadway right of way even has to come this far. It's not because you can't gain access to these lots. It's because zoning requires a certain amount of frontage on an actual paved, on the actual right of way. It doesn't have to be paved. So that's why we even have that like that, to avoid the variance associated with this shorter road design. There's no functional reason that the road needs to be longer.
You can bend and twist that to the catch basin and clean outs to the other side, just the arrangement.
I agree with you. Yes, we can do
You
that.
just twist and bend them.
Mhm. But on other projects that we've done something similar like this, maybe we didn't build the road at all and it became just a driveway. The town has basically had the owners take over responsibility for all maintenance of this area for the right of way. Essentially, they don't want anything to do with it. So the owners are responsible for mowing the lawn and long-term maintenance.
No, I hear that. And that's definitely an item for discussion because it's town property. It's not their property. And with that just brings on issues in the future when people want to, they think it's their front yard. They want to put an addition on, then they've got setback issues because you have this paper road that's sitting in what they appear to be their own yard. And we see it. We see it all the time with these paper roads. So that's the other side of that. And I know what you're doing here is you're creating the right of way, but only paving so much of it.
So we solve that by either extending the roadway and use the full length, or we get a dimensional variance from the zoning board, correct? And leave.
Yeah. Mhm.
Is
Yeah.
there,
Well,
I think that's it. And then you don't have that, you don't have a 90-foot wide, is that 90 or the radius on the cul-de-sac?
Yeah, I think it might be 80.
80. You know, you don't have all that sitting, so but it's something to definitely talk about here while we're going through these items.
So this was talked about to some extent at the master plan level, and the planning board did grant the waiver to allow for the reduction in the paved area. So just so you're aware of that, Warren
Okay,
and Chris, this was discussed back then. Doesn't mean it can't be changed now, but that waiver was already granted. And that actually leads to, there seems to be an inconsistency between, on road width between the cross section and I think somewhere else it was stated. Len, it looks like the cross section that you have on the plans is actually showing a town standard road, 24-foot plus Cape Cod berms, which is 26. So that's actually the town standard. But I think somewhere else I saw reference to a 22-foot wide road plus berms. So if you could just check and
Yeah, I'll check
make
that.
sure that there's some consistency. You know, again, the waiver has already been granted, but we want to know which is it going to be? Is it 26 or 24?
I think it's the narrower. I'll double check. But I think we were just trying to match what the existing part of Serenity Drive was. And
Right.
that one's narrower. So I'll double check. And I think that's why they gave the waiver. It is a 90-foot cul-de-sac, Warren.
paved 90, Lynn, that's.
Oh, no, right away 90.
Okay,
Paved is probably 80. Yeah, so I'll check that, Ron, and get back to you, but I think the reason behind that waiver is so that we could match the width of Serenity Drive that
Yeah,
exists.
that's fine. I just, again, there would seem to be an inconsistency.
Okay.
yeah. And Ron, while you're talking about that, the detail that you looked at, that calls for kind of something out of the ordinary, Lynn. It calls for what? 2-inch binder and 2¼ inch top. 2¼ inch binder and a 2-inch top on the asphalt cross section.
What is the town asking for right now on that? We wanted to maintain what you want for binder and top. I thought it was 2.5-inch binder and 2-inch top. But
That's what we construct, 2.5-inch binder, 1.5 top.
okay. 1.5 top. Okay.
Yes. So 4 inches of asphalt. Yes,
Okay. I'll have that updated. I think that's just a typo.
I think so.
Okay.
Wetland edge, you've got your wetlands permit, delineation, everything's current. The private stone driveway pervious. So I see a detail about that. Just thinking on the drainage calculations, and I'm sure that you use pervious for the drainage calcs for the driveways. So what we're seeing now is that those pervious driveways are either being partially or completely changed to impervious. So, and I guess that's something we need to talk about. Do we leave them as pervious driveways and then as impervious driveways in your calculations? And if the homeowner comes in, we can keep credit of that instead of doing it the opposite way, having the homeowner have to put in Coltex or some kind of onboard drainage system, something like that. I don't think it'll affect your drainage calculations that much, but it's something that you need to account for.
Okay. I'll check that.
Lot 3 and 4 water lateral. Oh, why do you have 2 storm drains? You have an 18-inch line and an 8-inch line, and I'm not sure what type they are, Lynn. What is
Are you talking about at this cul-de-sac?
at the cul-de-sac running down to your basin?
Yeah.
Right, and I think that's so that we have, one goes through the hydrodynamic stuff. You don't send the whole storm through the hydrodynamic separator because your sediments aren't during your first flush.
Yeah.
So that's what that's doing.
Okay. I was thinking of, and I'm wondering, can't you just tie that 8 back into the 18 right there and eliminate the 8 that runs all the way down to the
That
basin?
is a good value engineering thought. The problem is here they go to different places,
The sediment.
right? Because that first flush requires water quality, so we have it going to the sand filter. And the bigger storms after that goes right to they're not required to have water quality, so they go right to the detention basin.
Okay, thank you.
So what is that, like a 8/18? So that the sediment and everything stays in the 18, and then if it overflows, that 8-inch pipe goes into the grass area?
No, so what happens is we catch everything in the roadway and we have these last catch basin at the end of the cul-de-sac. It all goes into this drain manhole, which separates the low flow storm from your large storm. So your low flow storm goes to your hydrodynamic separator and then through this 8-inch pipe down to your water quality feature. Your larger storms just go directly they go out the
On.
pipe and directly into the detention basin.
So it ain't all about sediment control and sands and everything. They all go to the same place. They all do the same thing.
Eventually it all
The
goes,
18 is just for a larger volume.
right, after your
That's all.
first flush,
That's all.
after your water quality storm, then,
That's what I was saying about the sediment and the sand. I have some around that I can't get anybody to fix that got 3 foot of sand in them. And I'm banging my head up, Russell, with trying to find the right person to go to fix the ponds.
hmm.
Okay, I'm done. I'm good.
So that works. What about pipe type, Len? While you're on the 18 and the 8s, is that concrete, PVC?
I believe we have it as concrete. I know it's concrete in the roadways. And then when it's cross country, it depends. Is that something that you mandate to be a certain type of pipe?
No. When you get out of the right of way like that, it's fine. Whatever you
Okay.
prefer. Bob, you good with that, right?
Yeah, you can go ADS or plastic, that's fine.
Yep.
It's not gonna be driven on.
ADS is good.
But then again, we're talking about putting a roadway to drive on. Wait a minute, yeah.
Hmm.
But that'll be infrequently, and technically the ADS pipes are suitable in roadways. I have
Correct installation.
where you can have them because those grids disperse the weight across.
Mhm, mhm.
All right.
Yeah, it takes, the backfill requirements are a little more stringent for ADS than they are for a PVC or an RCP, right, Len? Yeah. So we just want to detail. If you do
Installed
use
correctly.
yeah, I think they require 12 inches of bank run over the top or road base, but
Okay,
so you got.
we can always use concrete if we can't meet that.
This is another one we always talk about, square foot of the impervious for each lot. I mean, your calculations show the 3,000 for each residence. It shows a pervious driveway. So somebody comes in and they want to make the change, they want to add something, they don't want to do a 3,000 square foot. They've got to somehow, and Russ, maybe you need to help with this, is that that has to be included, I guess, with the homeowner's documents that this is it. Or maybe it just gets recorded with this plan that you can only build a 3,000 square foot residence, or you got to do on-site stormwater management.
Yeah, we've done that with other recent applications where it's I believe included on the plans as well as in the documents that any modification to the impervious as shown on the approved plan has to address stormwater.
Okay.
Treat each one as an individual after the master plan's done. Anything that comes to me, I just review it as a new project. You know, if it meets, my engineer takes a look at it. If it exceeds, that addition or driveway impervious coverage, then you do it on site with a smaller garden or something like that. Each one will be done
Right.
individually.
And 3,000 square feet is
Correct.
pretty big. That's the footprint, you know, if they do 2 stories, it's a 6,000 square foot.
Yeah, they got enough room on each individual lot. This is to approve the master, and then, you know, hypothetically, if they do come in, and every one of these are gonna come back and wanna asphalt the driveway. They're not gonna want it to make, that stone maintenance, you know? So in the future, if you asphalt your driveway, you're gonna do mitigation for water quality on your lot, individual lot.
Well, Warren asked,
That's what we're
Warren, I
looking
think,
at it.
Warren asked, and I think Lynn agreed to ensure that the drainage facilities are designed to accommodate paved driveways, so we don't run into the driveway issue in the future. It would only be if the houses are bigger, or if there's patios that are added, or any other impervious surface that wasn't accounted for in the stormwater design.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with that. I like that.
A couple more, and while we're on the cul-de-sac, I should have brought this up. The 1% slope plan on the cul-de-sac. If we could take a look at that, increase that a little more, maybe closer to 2%.
Okay,
That shows up on your profile. You don't need to click to it. Just make a note that that's something we'll be looking for. It's not going to make much of a difference to you. Ron's. I think we do allow a minimum of 1, but we're finding when you go to 1, it's just problems. We end up with bird baths and having to deal with that. Culvert at wet swales where sewer crosses. So if you can just zoom out a little bit, Lynn, on this plan and look where your wet swale crosses, yeah, between lots. Is that 4 and 5? When we get to the sewer, this may come up right there. Where's the sewer? See where the sewer line crosses right in there?
yep. Let me just zoom in for you, right here.
Yes. Is there any way you could get that water across that sewer without having a swale there? We maybe 2 head walls and a culvert, just to
Can we-
eliminate the basically the ditch over the sewer.
And is that because you're worried about I mean, can we line the swale in that section? Are you worried for infiltration? What is the, what's the concern? Just so I can, I mean, we could try to pipe it.
Yeah,
Driving over it.
Oh, okay.
you know, to get through there, and then the restoration of it becomes so on and so forth. I think it might be cleaner, but you can take a look at that. Maybe move the ponding area a little further to the east or northeast.
Yeah, shift this over so it's just a conveyance line.
Yep, something like that, something simple.
Okay.
2 swales, pervious, cul-de-sac, plow time. And I think that's all that I have. I think that's all I have. Thank you. If
Right.
there's any, when we get into the sewer, Bob and I have had some notes on the sewer, but I'll let him talk about the sewer and what we're thinking on that easement here.
Warren, since the question was asked, you haven't mentioned it, but do you have any idea of needing Crossman to get involved with this review? If so, we would need to get that started right away.
Yes. I think Crossman should review these for us, Ron. Yes.
All right, well, that means we would be, I guess, asking the planning board to refer it to Crossman, although I think the TRC can do that as well, sort of semantics, but we would need basically an extra packet, Lynn, plans and, the stormwater report and all of that we could then ship over to Steve.
Okay.
just want to make sure we get that started right away.
Yeah, thanks, Ron.
Sorry, I missed that. I had a call coming in. I had to mute. So we're gonna refer this to Crossman. Is that what you're saying, Ron?
Yeah, that question was raised by one of the abutters as to whether that was going to happen. So I just asked Warren what he thought, and he is suggesting that it be referred to Crossman for review.
All right. And are they going to be in a position, you think, by next month's TRC to participate?
I would think so. You know, as long as Lynn can get us the plans pretty quickly, we can get them out to Crossman right away, and they're usually pretty good. I would say within a week or two, they'll be able to review it.
Yeah, they expedite their reviews. They don't drag their feet. They're good. Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, one more thing before I turn it over to Bob. Another question that was asked, and I looked through the file today. Lynn, did you submit a development impact statement?
You know, I
I couldn't
honestly cannot
I
remember.
couldn't find it. Yeah. If you,
I'll look, and if I didn't, I'll send it over to you.
please do, because if you did, I can't find it either. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And
Hey,
then,
Bob, do you want to
Yeah,
go ahead?
yep. Let's start, since we're down at the Mayford River, the public right of way. That existing sewer manhole that has the 6-inch coming into it,
Mhm.
that needs to be probably replaced. You're
Talking
gonna,
about This one in Maidford River
no,
Road,
the one that's at the end of the right of way. There you go.
right here? Okay.
Yeah. To get that angle in there from the new 8-inch coming in and the 6-inch that's in there, I don't think it's gonna work. So let's recommend replacing that. Since we're still there, the disconnecting of that 6-inch, that existing line that goes up to the north of the property, it starts at this manhole we're talking now, the
Yeah.
existing. Getting them out of the 2 lots, separating, like capping it back into that lot 5. Or lot 4, that's lot 4, sorry.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, into the lot though, because then you're talking about removing this sewer manhole to the west there.
This one.
Yeah, so if we cap it at the property, you know, so it's not in, no one, it's out of the right of way is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, okay.
And then you're gonna remove that other one, the cone section. It's on one of the drawings.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go to the utility plan, so we have the right notes.
There you go.
Okay.
Get it out of our right of way. Cap it outside the right of way. Yep.
This,
Yeah,
this
there.
connect.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's out of the right of way. We're gonna probably replace that existing manhole. See,
Okay.
I don't think those angles are gonna work, so we just touched on that, but since we're going back there on the plan.
Okay.
Yeah, you're talking about abandoning that lower section, upper section and filling them in. Any idea how you're gonna fill them? Are they just gonna be dirt or?
Well, that's up to you. You're the boss on that.
Wait, but I didn't know if you had an idea what you were gonna use, and
No, on other projects I've done, they use the flowable fill. It depends, you know, what's easiest, quickest.
no, I'm fine with the flowable fill. I just didn't know what your thoughts were on that. And then that other one, same thing, like you said. We talked about the sewer in the cul-de-sac. I'd like to see that in the asphalt.
Right here.
Yeah. All your laterals are 6-inch. I saw that. So that's about what I have on the sewer.
Okay.
one thing while you're on the sewer, Bob, if I could just help out that, I see, Lynn, that's 298 feet, that run. We wouldn't want anything longer than 300 feet.
Okay. I think that's standard. that
Yeah,
we-
300.
Yeah.
Yep.
we can just add a note to the plan to that effect. Is that
Mhm.
okay? So during construction, if it happens, we install a second manhole.
Second manhole, or move that, the new one, I think that you're gonna be replacing, the existing manhole where that is,
Down at the Mayford River.
down at.
Oh,
Maple
yeah, if we
Green
move it
Road,
up.
you might be able to do something right there.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yep. I'm good. I just wanted to help out with that one there, Bob.
Yep, thank you.
So just so I understand, as far as the existing sewer line, the section on the southern, which is parallel to the southern boundary near the Maidford River Road, that section's being removed, but the remainder of it can just be abandoned and filled. Is that right?
Yes,
This piece.
and probably noted that they have a line on their property. Is that something should be noted that it's on that lot?
Lynn, I get, yeah, I mean, if that's something that's appropriate to put on the plan.
That the line exists?
That it
It's
exists on the
abandoned, but
lot?
it exists, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's shown on the drawings. I mean, you're not opposed to us just removing it if that becomes,
You can take it right out. That's fine with me. I don't have a problem with that.
yeah, I just don't know how that impacts the value if they're planning on, I don't know if they're selling that lot. I know they're keeping several for themselves.
So not a problem, but you see how close that sewer line comes to your proposed residence right there? If somebody's building, they come across the pipe, so
Yeah,
on and so forth. It could
That's
become
why
an
we're
issue.
filling it if it's left in place so no one inadvertently connects to it, but
Right,
that'd be terrible.
right. And I think Russ's question was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Russ, is that the sewer line that's parallel to the southerly line, the boundary line, that entire reach is being abandoned, or just the reach that comes out of that first manhole that gets onto that property? How did we want to leave that one, Bob? Because that could be an issue.
I thought we just cap it like it says, put a plastic cap on it. I don't
Yeah.
have a problem with that.
You see
Just let
that,
it be known that it's on the property, you know?
right? So we would not remove that entire reach. We
all
just-
I'd
Yeah.
want it removed out of the right of way and then into that
Gotcha.
private property could stay.
So this section gets removed, this can be abandoned.
Yes,
Okay.
Capped.
yep,
yeah. And it has to, and if we abandon it and leave it, we have to make sure that the final plans reflect that where it's located.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else, Bob or Warren, for now?
Not in the sewer.
we did talk about that, the sewer easement that runs between 4 and 5, as leaving that as private. I don't know what that. Bob and I talked about that, and what that does is it helps out with the town access in and out of there, and it becomes a homeowner's issue rather than a town issue. If
So
we
you would
ever
have
have,
just this length private?
That would have to be the whole thing though, I would think, even in the roadway.
right up,
That would be confusing, having it go from public to public again.
yeah.
They have,
The
but
whole,
they have that on one side or the other, you know, so it belongs to one property. Just so I know what a property line is, so they don't put a fence straight down the middle of it. Does that make any kind of sense? That could be on one property or the other, so that at least I know that, you know, one fence will go up, because they're gonna fence it up sooner or later. And where's the property line, or the property line that they'll have two with a racetrack right down the middle?
I do think we have it off the side of the property, but I'll just double check to make sure it's on one lot versus the other.
So it'd be just like a 30-foot road right down the middle. If they both want, if 4 wants to put a fence up and 5 wants to put a fence up, there'll be 30 feet in between them. a lot of times, I'm used to seeing the easement belongs to one property or the other, for access for us,
Yeah.
You're
It's
gonna
also
shoot-
normally 20 feet wide instead of 30 feet wide.
Well, I'm seeing 30 on that,
That was something Tom asked us to incorporate.
Yeah, 30-foot wide easement.
With a 20-foot reinforced road.
Takes a lot of space from the lots if you put it all on one property,
Yeah,
But then the homeowners just wouldn't be able to put a fence up, at least not.
yeah, but the next
the
guy
property
after
line,
me's
they'd have-
not gonna remember that, That's the whole thing, is I don't care
Never
what
leaving
happens. 9 years, 4 months, 30 days, and a couple of hours,
You're not counting, Chris, are you?
Not at the least. But we forget, when we're looking at somebody calls for a fence, show me the property line. I don't go into the deeds and records or homeowners associations, and yeah, I gave you a permit, but it was up to you to look at and these associations drive us nuts, because we don't have time to go down and look at deeds saying you can't have a fence, you can't have a fence, you gotta stay over here with your fence. We just stay as long as it's on the property, which means they'll put a fence right down the middle of that easement. I'm just trying to find a solution, a simple way. I come across it all the time.
Well, if it's a private sewer line, then it's not the town's problem anymore.
I just tell them, go ahead and put a fence up. I'll forget about that, Well, the next guy will in that 9 years, 6 months, 30 days, and a couple hours, They'll forget, and they'll put a fence right down the middle of that thing. That's all. Nothing, just inquiring minds want to know.
Make the whole sewer line private from the asphalt all the way to Mayford River, and Mayford River will become public. Then we don't worry about it. Put the maintenance on the resident.
Put a shed right over the top of it, But see, sheds can be moved.
That'll happen.
Oh, for sure.
All right. I'm done rambling on about nothing.
All right, so just so I have a little clarity here, is the suggestion, I mean, if the concern is a fence being constructed, when I develop the homeowners association documents, they will include or can include covenants and restrictions, and we can specify the issue of fence or obstructing any of the stormwater management areas or the easement areas. So, I mean, it can be set forth pretty clearly to the homeowners. But there was a final comment about the sewer line being made private. Is that, I just want clarity as to what are we talking about? You're talking about, so just removing the easement and it's completely the homeowner's responsibility to make sure that sewer line's maintained?
I think you would still need the easement. It's just that it wouldn't be maintained by the town. It's going to be maintained by the homeowners association.
Yeah, if that ever gets clogged, the town don't even have to dig it up. You guys can find your association and fix it.
Right, well, so then there'd be the easement as it's currently in draft form, which I circulated to Peter, contemplates the easement and the grantee of the easement being the town of Middletown. So he's suggesting that we eliminate that. And so the easement just becomes among the 5 lot owners to access that line. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I said. I don't know if anybody agrees or if that can be agreed on or.
So then we have to add an easement instead in the town's right of way for a private entity to maintain this section of the sewer main?
So we'd be responsible
That's
to that cover. To that, and then your input would go off there with that main, just like everybody else does, on the private property. Right from our manhole. Would be private, we let you tie into that manhole and then you get across your property however which way you want.
I don't know, we might want to think about that. Because like Ron said, we'd go,
Public, private, public.
yeah, public, private, public.
Yeah, well, so I'm not here to invent a new wheel,
It might be cleaner.
I
Now, the 30-foot wide easement Not sure why that is. Bob, you have any idea?
No. The vehicle's only about no more than 8 feet wide.
Yeah,
But then again, we ran into that with JH Dwyer with a narrow easement.
Was it less than 20? Because normally we do
Yeah,
20, 10
it
on
was
either
narrow.
side of the main, you know?
I think so. We'll look at that. Can we keep that one for a little more discussion? Ron, could we do that?
Yeah, we're not making any decisions today anyway. This is going to be continued.
Yeah,
Okay, let's do that.
we'll kick that around a little bit. So
Okay.
I'm not sure, Russ, if that helps you or hurts you.
No, I get the sense that now it's sort of come full circle, and you're now we're probably keeping it as an easement to the town. It remains a public sewer line all the way through, and I guess you guys just want to give consideration as to what width is necessary for the easement. That's the sense I'm getting now.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. That's fine.
Okay.
And make sure that the homeowners association documents prohibit fencing within the
Right.
easement.
Okay.
All right, Warren, Bob, you guys good for now?
While we're here, we also want to take a look at the extension of the utilities up to Compton View. And I know you said we need Newport Water's input or plan or whatever they're going to require, and fire hydrant on this, Lynn, or no? Do we have
So-
one?
I think that when I meet, or when Russ and I meet with Newport Water, we're gonna get a little clarification. We do have a fire hydrant, or maybe it's not on the plan, but it was a comment that we need to add it.
Okay. Is that
So we
just
do
above your
intend,
cursor there?
that was, if that was, yeah, because I'm not.
Lynn, I thought it was the black dot on lot 3. You were just added.
Lot 3. Oh, the black. Oh, you're right. There you go. So there was some thank you, Rita. There was some back and forth on where that fire hydrant gets located. The fire department said one spot and then Newport Water said another. So
Okay,
we need to meet with Newport Water and then make sure the fire department's okay with that, basically.
good. That's that. And then the other item is you have electric, water, and gas being extended down here. Probably going to end up going on both sides of the Serenity Drive pavement right now. I see how you have it drawn nice and neatly there that it fits.
On half the road, you don't like that? Yeah, you're talking about repaving.
I think Warren froze.
I think Warren froze.
Warren, you still there? Warren's froze.
Yeah, I believe that's what he was referring to, complete restoration of the road, curb to curb.
Yeah. Okay.
And no, we just left. Did you have anything else, Bob?
What about the wells on the properties, the existing wells? There's, I don't know if they are monitoring wells or,
They are from the previous subdivision approval. I mean, this one is located in an area where if the homeowner wanted to change it to an irrigation well at some point, it's fine. The other one ends up in the right of way, so that one's gonna be removed.
all right, that was a question we had also. There's Warren now, he's gonna join us here.
I got kicked out of my computer. I got to come over here.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You gotta be careful for this group. Ron just cuts people off all the time.
Don't like what you said.
Yeah.
The pavement, we just said curb to curb, probably on the restoration. I think that's when you froze.
Yep, okay. Newport water plans, we're gonna wait on those, Lynn. And there's a well, there's a couple of, did you talk about the
Yeah.
wells?
Yeah, I had just mentioned that the one that's on lot 2 appears to be in a location if that homeowner wanted to change it to an irrigation well. But the one that's in the right of way would have to be removed.
Correct.
Okay. These homeowners, that's all I have. I
All
think
right, so
that's
that-
all- Yeah, I think that's all I have, and
Yeah, this will be coming back, obviously, and of course, Crossman's going to have an opportunity to review everything as well, so we'll reconvene next month. Chris, just to not cut you off, do you have anything from the zoning perspective or any other issues that you want to talk about?
No, I don't have any issues.
Okay. Then the only other thing I had, Russ, I think you had called us or emailed about bonding and perhaps having the planning board set performance bond amount. Have you moved on that at all? Do you still want to do that?
Yeah, I chatted with Lynn about it. I think now that we have a little more time, I think Lynn is going. I don't want to speak for Lynn, but my impression was she was going to put something together, right, Lynn, for
Yeah,
cost
you need
estimate?
the construction estimate for the roadway improvements and things on prevailing wage, so.
Right. So if you've got that ready, Russ, I think we'd mentioned to you, we can have the planning board do that at the same meeting that they're doing the preliminary plan review. So you'll have them set the bond amount that can, would then be posted at final plan approval. But it's just a matter of you getting us that information in time for that planning board meeting and actually prior to the planning board meeting, because Warren has to be able to review the costs and approve them.
Okay.
So that's all I had. So I was just looking at the calendar. The next planning board meeting I was on August 11th. So I'm thinking we'll have a TRC meeting the prior week. So first week in August, we'll shoot for. I'll send out a poll to the committee members to see when you're available that week. But just keep that in mind. We'll look for the first week in August. And I'll get this. Lynn, as soon as you get the stuff to me, I'll get it out to Steve Cabral and get him started on his review. But, as we've had good experience with him, it'll only take him a week or two to review that. So we should be in good shape for that first week in August.
Okay.
So with that, I don't know that we need a motion to continue. I think we'll just recognize that the review is not complete and we will reconvene with the TRC when the meeting's scheduled. So
Okay.
thank you, folks.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Russ. So Lynn, you're staying on again. One more to go.
Lynn's busy.
Tiring morning. I'm gonna need a break.
It's gonna be lunchtime before we're done, so.
Yeah.
lunch delivered.
Let's see, so who do we need
Quiet.
here? We need Gerard, right?
Yes.
Gerard in here. So the next item on the agenda is, let's see, recommendation of planning board application of Newport Car Vaults, care of Blake Henderson for development plan review, request for waivers from certain design standards for construction of a new commercial building and associated site work for an auto storage building, property located at 55 John Clark Road, plat 115, lot 33. Morning, Gerard.
Morning, everybody.
So yeah, take it away.
All right, I see his Warren stepped out. Is he joining us?
I think he might be trying to get back on his own computer, but
Okay,
he's either
and
going
you
to
don't see
be,
Spencer waiting to get in, do you?
I do, Spencer is here. I'll let him in.
Okay. Well, basically what is being proposed is trying to reinvigorate that lot and put something there that's going to be used. Right now, the building, Lynn's business used to occupy that. They have left. It's pretty much, there's a low percentage of occupancy. That type of use is no longer desired. And so what's being proposed is a car storage facility In the office park, you know, it would require a special use permit. So we'll be applying for that. There are some interpretations of the zoning code we're still working out with Chris in terms of any other dimensional relief that might be required. You know, really beyond that, I think I'll open it up to any questions you all have and have Lynn describe some of the technical aspects of the proposal.
Lynn, why don't you go ahead and put the plans up?
Okay, I will share my screen and we'll start with the civil set here. So yeah, it's 55 John Clark Road. We did do a site visit. I know Ron was there and Gerard was there with me. The site's developed with an office building right now. There's three tiers of parking, and then there's a parking area on the Valley Road side of the project. All access on existing conditions is from John Clark Road with 2 existing curb cuts. It's a 2-level office building. We do have our utilities cross over the child and family services property. That's because I don't know if any of you remember, have been here long enough. But this was one lot and it was subdivided when Blake had originally purchased it. And then this parcel, the southern parcel, was sold off to Child and Family Services, and easements were put in place to retain those crossover utilities. So that's basically a little bit of history on how that happened. We're planning on keeping those. We also, here is your watershed protection district offset line, just so you can see it. On the other side of Valley Road is the pond that you're all well aware of. We don't have any proposed improvements in that area except for the outfall for our drainage system. So I showed it to you on existing conditions because it's a little bit difficult to see on proposed because of all the grading. But here is where that line ends up. So we have not yet submitted for a special use permit because of that watershed protection district, and I'm not sure that we need one. That's Chris Costa will make that call at some point with Gerard. So the project, basically we still have 2 curb cuts coming in, although not in the exact same locations. We tried to maintain them, but the one on the north side is a little bit too far north for us to keep. Basically we'll be coming in and doing a loop all the way around the building and then exiting. We did not make them one way. So it is wide enough to support 2-way traffic. But we have a series of car vault storage units as you go down the hill. And then we provided pervious parking spaces on the opposite side of the travel lane. Obviously, they'll have cars inside the vaults. So we envision that they'll drive their clunker to go see their prestigious car. And then we have the grading that goes down the hill. We'll have a stepped foundation for this project just to make it work without huge retaining walls. And then at the western side of the site, we'll have our pre-treatment and water quality treatment and discharge. Because we were able to incorporate additional landscape features and pervious pavers areas on this project, we don't end up with any detention needs because we're not increasing impervious from existing. So your peak runoff is not something that we need to deal with on this property, but there are no provisions under existing conditions for pretreatment or water quality. So we are adding that on the Valley Road side of the property, which will result in a improvement from this site to your receiving watershed. So that's a good thing. We did add a dumpster area, which will have to be a roll bin. And then I don't know how much trash these kinds of units generate, so we're not expecting much. And then we expect, I think there's a new requirement in your ordinance for biking, but we're expecting that anyone with a bike brings it into their vault area. So outside bike facility isn't really applicable. And we did add some trash receptacles because I believe that's a new request too for these kind of projects. But other than that, from an engineering standpoint, it's a pretty low intense use. Traffic wise, it's a reduction. And it's off peak. So the people who are using this facility are not going to coincide with the office park peak that you see. So that will help with some of the traffic stacking that you get during rush hours down on the roadways over there. And from a drainage perspective, it's an improvement to your stormwater utility loads. We're expecting less water and sewer demand. We do have the water availability letter. I sent it to Bob, but he totally ignored me, so I don't have his.
Sorry.
But it's a reduced use, so I don't think there'll be any issues with that. But basically that's your civil. I can pop quickly over to landscape, or did you want to go over anything on this plan set?
Warren, you're muted.
Thank you, Ron. I do, Lynn. I think this will be pretty quick for you. And maybe you can't answer it now. But the Newport TMDL for the drinking water reservoir. So we drain right into Northeastern Pond here. The pre-treatment and then the BMP that you're proposing. How do you address those contaminants of concern or impairments, whatever Newport water DEM will be looking for in the future here? So
Yeah, and you're right. There is a TMDL on this site, and that did come up during the review. We sent this project to DOT because we're actually discharging towards their swale system on Valley Road, so they're required to review it. And we submitted it to DEM because it's over an acre, so there's a RIPD's permit requirement, and that did come up, and we did address it. The details on how we did, I can get to you, but I don't know offhand to speak to that right now.
that's fine. And it also qualifies as a redevelopment. So you're looking at 50% of the water quality volume, which it looks like you're treating well more than 50% of the water quality volume with this system.
Yes, we definitely meet everything. And the TMDL results in having enhanced treatment. So that's probably why we're over that as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want me to pop quickly over to Charles' landscape plan?
Well, before we leave the civil plans, Bob, do you have any issues, concerns, questions?
Not really. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. The sewer, that one manhole there coming out of that retention pond, it's a new manhole.
Or down here at the bottom.
Yeah, down on the southwest corner there.
Yeah, so that's the outlet structure from the drainage. Yep.
No, down more, wasn't it an added sewer manhole?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Right now, the sewer line comes straight into the building, but we didn't want to bring it underneath the pretreatment.
Mm-hmm.
So we make this bend
All right.
with a new structure.
Yep, that's fine. I was just curious on that. I missed that coming out of the building. I'm good.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. Let me flip over to the other plan. Okay, so we used Charles Earl for the landscape architecture for this project. And he did a plan set, and it's in color. Basically, the site has grasses, pavers, and then he has perimeter trees around. We don't have any substantial trees on the site that were worth preserving. I mean, they end up mostly inside the building, so the new building. So, but they weren't substantial, as I was told, from a landscape perspective. But it does have some supplementary perimeter trees. Some of these are probably redundant because if you, as you probably saw on the site, when you drive by, the Child and Family Services has a row of arborvitaes down their property line. So now you're going to end up with a double row. And then we have the trees along the front. There is a stone wall along the front of the property. It's not on the town lot line. It's not on the lot line. It's interior to the property. We are going to try to, we're preserving that or rebuilding if needed.
And those street trees are within the property?
They are within the property lines,
Okay.
yes. I can zoom in so you can see that a little bit better. One thing that's shown on our site plan that I need to check and get back to you on is, and unless Gerard checked with Blake, I didn't have a chance to. We show gated entrances. I'm not sure that that's actually something that's proposed, but we'll get back to you on that. And then if it is, we'll work with the fire department to make sure we have what we need in place so that that's meets their requirements for a gate. So I will, I'm going to turn this over now to Spencer, because he can go over his architecturals for you for the set, unless you have any questions. I'm sorry, I don't want to step all over you, Ron.
Well, not any questions. At the end, I'll review the waivers, which you've probably already seen in the memo that we sent to the planning board, but there are some waivers that'll be necessary. But yeah, if you want to have Spencer just review the architectural, that's great.
Sure. I'm gonna hope that I can share screen on this device. There we go.
I can put your plan up if you want.
I don't know if that's working. If you could do it, Lynn, that'd be great.
Okay.
It's not letting me on this device for whatever reason.
Okay. Oops. Lost everybody here. Okay. Okay, there you go, Spence.
So this building is a 2-story building, and you'll see in that section below there that essentially cars are on the lower level, and then owners will have a lofted area above. This is semi-customizable, meaning individual bays can be connected either horizontal or next to or straight through. Every 4 bays, we step down. So there's a gradual step down on the hill, on the slope, which makes an interesting zoning question. We're underneath anywhere on the building. If you measured to the ridge, we'd be under our zoning allowance. But because it stretches the whole length of the hill, obviously the bottom and the top have 15 or 20 foot grade change. So all that considered, we thought this was the most fitting ability to fit a building on here and fit into the spirit of the zoning code, in that no spot is any taller than the zoning what's allowed. That said, it basically, I've done the standards for design in Middletown many times, so I used all those points in designing the facades here, trying to make sure we had the right amount of glass and have the historic feel, traditional feel of the gable ends and the shed roofs, so that each and every side of the building feels like its own individual part. The facade steps in and out as you march down the building, as these gables step forward. The garage doors are very high-end residential style carriage doors. So it's not going to be a whole series of roll doors like you'd see maybe in a storage facility. These are meant to have their own individual personality and have individual design aesthetics on their own. Lynn, can you go to the next sheet?
I don't know if I have any other sheets. Let me see.
Okay.
Oh, I do. There we go. Yeah,
There you go.
sorry.
So this is a little bit more detail. Each end, the small end that faces the two streets, one's on a street, the other one's across the wetland area back down to Valley. They will have that historic nature and windows. There's some actually really nice views to the water from the second floor at the end there. So we'll let the owners that buy those units catch those views, but everywhere else there'll be light getting up into either a double height space in and above the car area or into an extended mezzanine that would come over and allow people to have light into their upper area. This is meant to be a place where you drop off your car, maybe hang out with your friends, you store a few things in there, but essentially it's a showcase. This model has been used all over the West Coast and is making its way here. And we're really excited about it. Not looking like a bunch of garages, but looking like a building that has its own individual character as an architectural piece. And so each of these high-end cars can sit in a spot that really looks nice and kind of has that feel of what the Middletown standards would want. So the idea is that we're following those, and that makes each individual unit owner feel like they've got a nice building attached to that and a little spot inside that they can customize to fit how they want to use the space. Lynn, do you have any renderings? I don't know if the board has seen.
No, I don't think I have those in my pack.
No problem.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no problem. This gives you a pretty good understanding. I know TRC is not that concerned with the looks and the architectural feel, so I'll leave it at that.
So you'll have those for tomorrow night's meeting, Spencer?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's renderings that I'll have, and I'll be on a different device. I was kind of between meetings this going later than I
Sure.
thought.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll have the renderings. They're a little bit more impressive.
Great. Yeah, and I think, well, for the site visit, we only had 4 of the 7, but I don't think there was much concern raised about the building design. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night.
Okay.
So Spencer, I have a quick
Yeah,
question.
go ahead, Warren.
The units themselves, they're combinable? What, did you say horizontal?
Yeah, so, since the building's broken up into bays that are linked in 4s, so you can't, in some units, you couldn't go left and right. So you'd have 2 doors next to you, but you could go straight through the building if you took that down. So we're
Right.
designing the structure of it so you could sort of merge units. If, let's say, you had need for more than 1 bay.
Yep. Gotcha. I was just adding, so you're gonna have the slabs will be all stepped in this.
The stab will be stepping. So if you had 2 doors next to each other, but there was a 1-foot grade change, then that would be, you could maybe have a step or 2 between them, but you wouldn't have one continuous slab unless you bought 2 that were right next to each other.
Gotcha. Okay. That's the only question I had. Thank you.
You bet.
So Chris, or maybe Gerard, if you want to talk about the zoning questions.
Well, I reached out to Chris on a couple of points, and we haven't had a chance to totally iron out. I think Spencer laid out the height question pretty well, which is, and I know Chris's measure is pre-existing average grade.
Yeah, it's about a 10-foot deficit from one, it's a unique structure. I don't normally have a 300-something foot structure, you know?
Yeah,
But it would be like 20-foot deficit from one end to the east to west. You know? But we'd have to look at it, you know, if there is, I don't know if there's gonna be any other relief necessary. If it is, I'd err on the side of caution and go for that height relief because it's tasteful, you know? If you needed a variance for height. So you got a 10 feet, you know, the only way you're gonna have that not need a variance, what do we got in OB though? Is it 40?
Yeah, I think so.
If it's 40, then you got 30 feet on that east side, you know? Because that would be 40 with that 10-foot measuring from pre-existing average.
and
If everything would be covered and we wouldn't need any relief.
Spencer, do you have, what is the
35 is the, yeah,
Is
the
there,
height OP.
all right, so, you know, we'll take sort of the,
No, it's 40, my mistake. We're in office park, which is 40 feet for the principal height. So I think you're close.
so we'll iron that out. We'll get a little more precise.
Yeah, we'll get it down.
Okay. And, you know, I think the one other question we had was the parking. You know, we take the position that I think there's over 100 spaces there now currently. We're not totally clear if this was starting from scratch, what Chris would be requiring. But there will be, I think, 43 spaces on the exterior around the building built in, and at least 60 parking spaces within the garage units,
Inside the garage, yeah.
which you know, essentially provides the same amount of parking that currently exists there. And so whether or not, you know, the use as the use is defined, we didn't see a precise count of what was required. And so that was another area of just wanting to be sure, you know, how Chris is looking at it from an interpretation standpoint.
Warehousing, storage, you know, like you put it right from the beginning, you know?
Yeah, you know, when you put it in the context of the use here, and I'm not sure what, for instance, the storage units on Aquidneck Ave had to do, but we don't see this as being a high intensity, highly trafficked and highly used parking area. You know, you're going to have these unit owners, vehicle in the bay, going there for, we envision, pretty short stretches of time. There's not going to be a big in and out like there is at an office park or office building complex. So, you know, we think that there's more than enough parking there, but we want to defer to Chris and make sure how it's being presented is what he would expect as we go to the zoning board level. And then the last piece was what Lynn touched on, which is there's that very small overlap of the watershed. I know it's already been pretty well vetted at you know, with DOT and DEM, and whether, you know, you feel there's a need for us to go to Conservation Commission. There's not going to be development where this area is, but that was the last item that we wanted to have vetted here.
We're gonna sit down and get the use ironed out, you know, down, because I gotta look at it like what the potential use is gonna be, you know, on that parking you know, you build one, I want to have strictly on that building permit, what we're building for use wise, so that in 9.5 years, somebody comes in and says, well, I can make this an actual tradesman center like you referred to on Aquinic Avenue. There's a difference between what you're proposing and that tradesman center is. So when I permit this, we're gonna really lock down what the use is gonna be. Just so that they can't come in and say, oh, no, we're building this, I got, you know, now I have a contractor in a couple of them bays doing something different.
Right.
And that's gonna affect your parking,
Yep.
you know, so we wanna iron that out
Okay.
and clarify actually what I'm gonna put on this building permit for the use and the CO for the use of that building.
Okay.
That's what it will be. If they're gonna come in and down the road, change some of this half and half, 50-50, it's gonna open up a whole nother can of reviews.
Right.
You know?
That makes sense. I mean, my quick thought would be, again, depending on any ordinance changes, that if the ordinance were to stay the same, any conversion of that nature would still would require a special use permit.
TRC or planning or, you know, whatever we need, yeah.
I would expect that would be required. I totally understand the
All right.
the idea we should, you know, vet it now.
Clarify
Get
it.
it-
As
right.
now it's the whole, every single one of them bays is gonna just be for a showroom storage of cars,
Yeah.
you know? So every single one of them bays are used the same exact way. Nobody's gonna go in there and, like you, when you refer to the
Yeah.
training center up there, I got a nail salon.
No. And so the other, you know, the piece of this will be that as they are built, if we get permitted and approved through zoning, the intention is to condo these with, you know, and I know I heard you speak earlier about homeowners associations and how sometimes weak they can be or not managed, but like the idea here is that it would be condoed. There'd be, you know, a declaration that would be very precise about the allowable use. So in addition to the oversight by you and the town as to what was permitted internally, there are going to be, you know, very strict descriptions.
Whatever my use table is in, that's for office park, yes. You know,
I'm sorry?
Your condo, you're saying you're gonna give the rights to each individual owner of each one of these units, because condo don't mean, I'm looking at the building as a whole.
Yeah.
I don't go crazy with 100 different uses going on in there.
That's right. I guess I'm trying to describe just that in addition to your permitting allowances and what you do, that the property owner, as he sells these units, is going to be very clear about what the allowable use under the condo declaration is. And there'll be that internal private oversight as well as, you know, the limitations that you
Yeah,
put.
I can't be sending 1 out of 50 units just to the, I don't know, I gotta look at that. I gotta sit down and see if, you know.
Yeah.
If somebody comes to me and wants, you know, a different use, what am I gonna have, you know? 60 zoning cases coming in because everybody wants to do something different?
Well, you know, I think that any, you know, I'm trying to think through the idea of what the association would be.
Oh,
I know they don't take the place of you, but it wouldn't be permitted internally. There would be private enforcement of anybody trying.
yeah, I don't know if I should take one building as a whole. I'm not gonna, just because they condo something, I'm not gonna take each unit individually. I think it's gonna be the whole building, and that's it. You know, I gotta think about that a little bit, you know, put some thought into how I'm gonna be enforcing. I'm not gonna enforce 60 different rules for one building. You know, I think the one building gonna have one set of rules and that's it. That's in there, and you cannot even apply. It's just prohibited. in that building, so you can't even apply to zone.
So in other words, a condition being that if a unit owner were to, in the future, seek permission for a different type of use in one of the units, the association would have to be an applicant and have that approved building.
Trying to sell lumber out of there, go away, don't go away mad, just go away because it's just not permitted. So that's what I'm saying. If it's not permitted, they're not going for any kind of use in that building.
Right.
So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, certainly this is the intention.
My brain's going around it,
Right, and how we bind an owner in the future from not even applying. I'm trying to think through that myself.
Yeah, you're proposing a car storage building. So I'm going to permit a car storage building.
That's what we're applying for.
Now,
That's
somebody comes
absolutely
in
right.
and says, I'm going to take one of these car storage buildings and turn it into a nail salon. I don't know where I'm going with that yet. I don't know.
Yep. Well, yeah, at that point, I probably won't be representing that unit owner.
All right.
So Chris, what about that initial question about the Zone 1 Watershed Protection District? Only a
I was
small-
waiting to see all that information, Ron, on DEM and CRMC and everybody, DOT, because the structure's not touching it. It's minute. I'm sure they could actually turn the overspill totally out of that area. And then what am I, they're just landscaping as far as I'm concerned. My first thing I looked at, the overspill is in it, but that pond is so big that if that berk could be actually out of that area. And would I make them go and get a special use for it? I don't think so.
Okay.
But I'm going to weigh that. I'll have another conversation with Mr. Hall and.
Yeah, my only comment on that is if in the past, pre-Chris, if there was 1 square foot of development within the Zone 1, it went to the Conservation Commission. Anything
I'm
within
going
that.
to hold up to the same rules, Warren. Like I said, we didn't have a chance to discuss this yet.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
if that's what it is, I'm not here to change what the past used to do. I'm here to keep the thing going straight as it was.
Yeah.
So
So
we'll
it's gonna go.
we'll let you guys talk about it, but in the end, if you do decide, Chris, that it requires a special use permit for Zone 1, then it's going to have to be referred to the Planning Board and Conservation Commission.
Okay.
We'll have to go back through, at least back through the Planning Board again.
I will get on that today, first thing tomorrow, today or tomorrow. But
Great. All right. Anything else from you all? Otherwise, I'll just review the waiver requests. So I don't know, Gerard, if you've had a look at the memo, the staff memo that went to the planning board, but we identified 9 waivers necessary.
I'm sorry if I was sent that. I did not see that.
We didn't send the memo itself. We sent the link to the planning board packet.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I did not see that.
Well, I'll just read through them. I don't think any of these are going to be a surprise. So there's no pedestrian access provided to the site from either street. And of course, you wouldn't be providing it from Valley Road probably anyway, but there's no pedestrian access from John Clark. So that would be a waiver. And that covers two of the waivers, one for walkways and crosswalks and one for the access itself. Trash receptacles. Lynn, you said, did you add to the plan since the submission? All right, so you're muted, Lynn.
I'm talking to myself over here.
Yeah, there you go.
My cats love it. My dogs love it. We did add them. They're on the plan. They're little tiny boxes though, so they might be difficult to see.
All right, well, it's on the list, so tomorrow night, you can just talk with the planning board about the fact that those have been added to the plan.
Okay,
And so that would take that,
Ron, if I might, the trash receptacles were on the plan, but they are located in sort of a strange place, not near the office or the entranceway.
not where what?
Not near the office or an entranceway. They're sort of like on the northern property boundary. So that's part of the planning board review is to make sure that they're appropriately sized, located, and designed, and the design wasn't included either.
Oh, okay. We weren't, this is my first rodeo on the trash receptacles, so I apologize if we didn't put them in the right spot. I didn't realize that's where you wanted them. We put them next to the parking spaces.
yeah, they should probably have some near the office, the door to the office, and maybe along the building as well. Not at every stall, but maybe, every few have a trash can. And then also provide the design of the trash can. If you can find I don't know, Spencer might have something you can just show tomorrow night. They don't want 55-gallon drums, I guess is the point. They want something that,
That is exactly what we were gonna put.
yeah, I know. Bicycle racks we already talked about, so that's even, you'll make your argument to the board, but technically it's still a waiver if they wish to grant the waiver based on the explanation that, any bikes being brought to the site are going to be stored inside the units, and that's up to the board.
Okay,
Use of, at least on portions of the building, some synthetic trim, it looks like, so that's a waiver. Landscaping issues, I know you're kind of limiting the work along Valley Road, but there's no landscape screening provided along Valley Road. So technically that's a waiver and you can explain to the board, the rationale. 10-foot buffer between the building and the parking lot, not provided. So that's a waiver. And then similarly, the Valley Road side, there's no street trees provided along Valley Road on the property. So we can talk about the landscape plan with the board.
okay.
So those are the waivers we've identified. It didn't sound like from the discussion, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't hear of any potential conditions of approval that the TRC would be recommending to the board. Warren, you're good with the drainage?
Yes, Lynn's gonna get some qualification on the contaminants of concern and what the BMP is designed to handle, as long as, that's in accordance with DEM's TMDL, the impairments that need to be addressed for Easton's Pond. I think we're good there.
Yep. Yeah, they've got their RIPTs, so whatever they have to do, they're gonna do.
I got to assume, yeah.
Bob, you were all set?
So I'm not throwing a big cluster. Oh, Bob, I'm sorry, Bob.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm good with the sewer. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
And Chris, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, no, with the standard procedures of me, I'm just gonna write a memo and get it off to the Conservation Commission for a review. I'm not holding any kind of sequence up here or anything. Does that?
Well, you need to determine, so what you're saying is you're gonna require a special use permit for zone 1?
Well, I thought it was just a review through the Conservation Commission.
Well, that's the only reason it would be referred to conservation, is if you're requiring a special use permit.
Let me sit down with Warren and Bob and stuff this afternoon. I'll give you an answer by today, end of the day.
So is there any way that you could pull the toe of that basin out of the zone 1?
That's what I was thinking, because then it's just a little bit of dirt. If that overflow basin was south of that.
I don't think so. We'll look again, but we had done the project specifically trying to minimize any encroachment there. And I don't think we were able to remove it. We'll take a quick look, but yeah, we did as little as we could in there, but you still have that grading. That alone do you care about grading, or is it just a structure that's,
It was just a structure. I'm trying to eliminate, administratively say there's no, and back what the intent of the ordinance was, that there's no construction. Grading is grading, but putting a structure in there and we're calling that a structure. If there's no structure, why would I refer you to for a special use permit?
okay, so we'll look and see if we can shift that structure over at all to try to get that out.
But is that,
The
I agree.
outfall has got to be in there though, because the swale for the state road is in it, So we have the riprap splash pad. It's, I might be able to shift the structure over, but we're still gonna have the pipe.
I don't think you're allowed any type of drainage structure, and that, I would assume that includes the berms that are necessary for the construction of a basin. That would include the grading. I don't think they're allowed in zone 1, any type of detention basin, so on and so forth, right?
I think stormwater is allowed by special use.
By special use.
There it is then.
Yeah,
Then
so
we're
we
gonna
gotta go-
get a special use
I
permit.
can't get rid of the outfall pipe, that's
Right.
the only.
But if the berm and everything else, like you just said, what I have to research, because like I said, this is my first rodeo on a berm and a detention pond being in a wetlands.
Yeah.
A watershed. So, if you've been there and done that, I'm not changing proper procedure. And if it needs a special use, it's gonna go.
So, Ron, just scheduling wise, does that mean we should be kicked out from tomorrow night, or do we proceed tomorrow
No.
night?
Well, I kind of have a conflict for any late, sorry, I just did that to my hair. I have to be in Portsmouth by 7.
Tomorrow night?
Yeah, so I can probably do KJ's because it's first, but that's it.
Well, I guess that's up to you, Gerard. If you want to ask for a continuance, if your engineer's not going to be there.
Well, yeah, well, that maybe makes it an easy call, but what we would do scheduling wise is, I guess I would try to iron out these last details, get an application. I don't know if the application needs to be filed to get it over.
Planning. No, you're gonna have your planning and stuff done for this anyway, right?
Yeah, but I think what he's suggesting is,
I'm sorry, I just lost Chris a little bit.
yeah, Chris, I think what Gerard is suggesting is that you get the referrals over to us as soon as possible. So I think that, the zone 1 wouldn't be on for tomorrow night anyway, because we're past the ability to post it. So
Right.
I think you're looking at an hopefully not October, an August meeting for zone 1 anyway. So you're before the planning board in August anyway. So I think having a continuance of both so that the board is dealing with it at one time is probably not a bad idea.
Right. And just for Chris's referral to the Conservation Commission will get that ball rolling.
Yeah.
There's not an additional application that goes to them or anything like that. Is that right?
Well, there's a special use permit application.
Yeah.
With the zoning board.
Right, but that's what gets referred to both conservation and
planning.
Okay,
So once you file that, Chris will put together a quick memo referring both of those over, and conservation. When's your next meeting, Warren, for conservation?
Second Monday of August.
Yeah, so which would be, the same week as the planning board meeting, that Monday, and so you'll be on for conservation on looks like the 9th of August, planning board on the 11th. So you'll get your recommendations on zone 1 to go back to the zoning board that week from everybody.
It's gonna be a busy week again.
okay, so we'll leave this meeting with the idea of continuing that matter to the August planning board meeting. And then I know Chris wants to talk a little bit more with Warren, and then I will work with Chris to try to get our special use permit applications in. And if he needs anything else after we talk in a little more detail about height and parking, also the dimensional aspects. But I'll be there for the beginning of tomorrow night anyway, so I can request the continuance if need be.
Yeah, I'll let the board know right after this meeting. And I usually send out a little update to the public to let the public know which items are expected to be continued. So I'll make sure that everyone is as aware as possible so that folks that might be interested in this don't show up if they don't need to tomorrow night. But that being said, I think we can still go ahead today with a vote of the TRC with a recommendation to the planning board. And actually, when I was thinking about conditions on the memo that we put together to go to the planning board, we did have a couple of recommended conditions from the staff, which I guess I would suggest that maybe TRC consider including these in your referral. One was regarding that gate access and the need for fire department review and approval of the design of the gate to ensure that they have proper access. So that would be the first condition. And then the second proposed condition would be on the trash receptacles, providing more information for compliance with that requirement for the trash receptacle. So with those two proposed conditions of approval, I'll accept a motion to send a positive recommendation forward to the planning board.
So moved.
Seconded by Chris.
Chris,
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? 400, positive recommendation with those two conditions. We'll go to the planning board and we'll advise everyone that a request for a continuance. Well, like Gerard, you said you'll be at the meeting anyway, but I'll let the board know anyway that you're expecting to ask for a continuance.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Chris. I might try to shoot you a call a little later today, just to see where we are.
absolutely, yep,
Okay, great.
you know.
Thank you all very
All
much.
right, thanks, Gerard. Thanks, Lynn, and thanks, members. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded by Chris. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.